Welcome, Islander 36 Association members. So we're going to get started on the festivities and our meeting. Grab anything if you need a piece of cake, something like that before we get going. We got a surprise guest here, Lou Zevanov, while you're getting your stuff. Just about started this whole thing.
I'm sorry.
Welcome everybody. I wanted to first a big shout out to Coyote Point Yacht Club. We enjoy having our meetings here. It's a great venue, super convenient for folks that don't live in Napa, like we're showing here. For folks that live a little further south, this is really great. And then a shout out to Steve and Jocelyn Swanson. They're members here at Coyote Point, and we're kind of bittersweet, but we're sad to say Steve and Jocelyn are retiring from the board of directors of the Islander 36 Association, and they both held responsible positions in the association over the last several years, so we appreciate that. Thank you, Jocelyn and Steve. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good. All right. And then I want to introduce officers. So I'm Rick Egan. I have a Islander 36 Kapai out of South Beach Harbor, and my family have enjoyed that for over 20 years now. We have that boat. I want to introduce Rick Van Mel. Raise your hand. There's Rick. Rick's longtime officer and kind of the heart of the association, and is our webmaster. Mike Patterson is our treasurer. Say hi to Mike. Barney Brickner is a youth officer. He's our secretary. And Kit Wegman, there he is. Yeah, Kit Wegman is our resident. So this is the agenda for today. So. About I guess last spring, last time we were all together, we were at Richmond Yacht Club, and one of the things we discussed was the fact that after 50 years, the association now is 50 years old, our plaques and trophies are actually running out of room. And this is a picture of the Commodore's plaque, and literally we were down to just me on there. There was no other room. So we came up with the idea of combining people that had several years as Commodore. We've consolidated down to just down to one copper emblem, and we now, I could say, have I think another dozen years at least of extra room on the Commodore's plaque. And a big shout out to Roy Samuelson and Kit Wagman. They built us pretty much a new Nationals trophy, and Kit also did some work and fixed up the crew trophy and cleaned that up a little bit. So periodically at these meetings we do a treasurer's report and talk about the money we have at the bank. And this last year they said, why don't we spend some money fixing up some of these plaques? And so that's what we did. So that's kind of kept everybody busy here for the last couple of weeks. Did I miss one, Rick? I think I got all the ones we worked on. So anyway, when you get a chance, do come up and check out the trophies. They've been rehabbed a little bit. And then we'll have our guest speaker, Kit Wagner, going to tell us about his journey as an Islander 36 owner. We'll do a membership and finance update with Mike Patterson. And then you may have seen an email from me a few weeks ago about a survey, doing a survey of the club and finding out what members want to do. And we'll talk about that kind of at the end, and then we'll do some awards. So with that, I'm going to introduce Kit Wagman. He's our dessert speaker. Get your cake.
Hello.
Thanks, Kit.
Yay! Kit, what's your real name?
That is my real name. see everybody here. I've got the boat called Cassiopeia. I wasn't exactly sure where to go with this talk because I'm not really the historian as Lou is, because he's the one who started it. But I can kind of give you the breakdown on the way the boat started. My boat is a 71. It was the first boat on San Francisco Bay. It was rode hard, put up wet way too many times, and we had some issues, but we go here. This should show the Islanders. Okay.
I think you just added a new slide.
This is the history, part of the history of the Islanders. This is from Good Old Boats, years ago. It's a video clip of an Islander 36, and they're talking about how wonderful the boats were when they first came out. And they are pretty good. And if you want it, it's on YouTube. You can watch the whole video. But it is from, and I've got to give them credit because I don't want to get sued.
They might take your boat.
Yeah. Is that supposed to be a movie?
Yes, it is.
Didn't test that, sorry.
For some reason.
Hit the right arrow.
I tried that. I tried to hit her. Oh,
Whoop. He keeps adding new slides. This is keynote. I don't even know how to use it. Play slideshow.
Yeah. All right. So, Gary, you wanted to see what my boat looks like?
You know, this is pretty far distance, I don't know.
This is what my boat looked like when I bought it. Okay? You look at the keel here. I mean, this is 71. I bought it in 2004. All this mess you see here, that's the lead. All the carry compound was falling off of it and been sitting on the hard for 10 years.
Wow.
So, and the sail cover I put on because even though it was on the boat for the 10 years it was sitting there, it was no sail cover, and the sail that was on there was Mylar, and when we put it up, it snowed.
Right.
So, just showing you how old boats are, and that they're still, totally usable boats. They're great boats.
Who did you buy the boat from?
Nelson's Marine Center.
Brand new?
No,
Nope.
he bought it no more.
It was already 30-some years old.
Okay.
It's now 53 years old. And then, and that's just, the boats they've been around for a long time. Everybody says that. So, and the differences in the boats, and I took this picture to show you that all of you have a boat with a liner in it, right? There's a fiberglass liner in the boats that was put in starting in late 71. That stiffens the boats because it's got all those 90-degree angles, so it's stiffer, which improves the boats a little bit. But my boat, that's why there was no liner in my boat. When we had to tear it apart, that's what this is showing, that there was nothing fiberglass in the boat anywhere. Everything was wooden, shelving and stuff. All the cabinetry was wood, and that was, and that one of the modifications, which I've kind of talked about, is the modifications for the boats. And where you guys, your mast step is made out of mishmash. Mine was mishmash, which is asbestos and polyester resin mixed together.
Wonderful.
And then it had wood plates on both ends to keep it in place with a steel T down the middle. Some of those metal T's have broken and have had been repaired, like I did Diana's, and we replaced it with the G10 without tearing the whole boat apart, but fixed it that way. Mine, because I had cracked my boat when we hit something, and we had a big crack up here that went 2.5 feet across the boat. So the masthead had to come out. So that's how I know exactly how hard those things are, because I needed a pneumatic chisel to break that thing out. And this is my new masthead, which is now all G10. And it's impervious to water, rot, rust, electricity, nothing. In fact, if you're gonna hit something, stand there. And this is a crack that I'm talking about. These are becoming a little bit more common, I think. I just went to a boatyard and I saw 2 boats in the yard at the same time with these cracks. And this is caused by they either hit something or too much back pressure on the backstay. And it cracks, and the keel step is right here and comes back. And that's why it cracks, is because it's such a hard plug, there it doesn't flex. So this is one of the drawbacks of our boats. But this is totally repairable, as even prophylactically or after it's happened. You can make this repair so that it never happens again.
Kid, is that what they call the smile frown?
No, this is the frown. You see this line right here? It's not really visible, but you can see it looks like a ridge, a light color. This is where the lead attaches to the fiberglass boot. And this is where the smile comes from. Because the boat is fiberglass, it flexes, and the keel being metal does not. So it cracks along that seam. Catalinas, everything that's got a keel like this, Ericsson's, all of them get that, and that's called the smile.
Got it.
So when you hear somebody refer to, they say, oh, that guy, you've got the smile, that means it's a crack across here. They're very easy to repair. They do not mean that you've got water in your bilge. It's just because the metal and stuff, it cracks along that edge. The keel is so glued onto the boats that you don't get water into the boat from them. It's just a cosmetic look. So yeah, and then this, I took this picture because everybody modifies boats, right? We all have little things that are different, like my mast step. I put in a bulkhead, that's a real bulkhead. But also for the aft shrouds, everybody's trying to figure out how to keep the aft shroud from pulling up and cracking the deck. And you get all these spider webs, and it's actually, the thing to do is actually loosen your aft shrouds because it's not that important. But this is a loose boat. This is how Lou fixed it. This is a steel plate that attaches to the main shroud and comes back, and those bolts right there are what hold the aft lower in place. So it's got the whole deck it's pushing against, plus the main structure, which is, mine, I just got bars that come down from here, a rod that comes down and goes down to the keel, or to the hull, and it's going on it. This was a very nice looking fix. And then we all talk about old boats and how old our boats are, and how everybody was like, oh, if we had a more modern, new boat, it would be so much faster and so much better. There's nothing new in boats. This is a 560-year-old Chinese junk. Okay? Wow. And if you look at it, flat bottom, wide ass stern, hard chines. The only weird part is it's got lee boards, and it's a single rudder, right? But it also weighs a lot because the wood's 2 inches thick. This is the same length boat, modern, brand new. Wide ass back, hard chines, plumb bow, flat bottom, but it's carbon fiber. So nothing is new, it's just what we build it out of is what's new. Which boat would I rather be on? I bet the junk is way more comfortable, but this boat is way faster. And our boats are very comfortable. You get into the J40s, well, the J90 to the J100s, the J40s and stuff are more like our boats, and they're drier and more comfortable. The newer boats, they're trying to cut the weight down so the boats go so much faster that the joy, the comfort level drops. Because you get wet and you're wet and you're just wet. Yes, you're going faster, but if you want to be comfortable, our boats are different. Because that's Glass Slipper finishing this year's pack up.
Wow.
And that is actually shot of us crossing the finish line. And it was, as you can see, it is a wet. And this is Cassie crossing the finish line.
All right.
Nice and dry.
Well,
Is it supposed to be a movie?
you know, I get smaller, but anyway. And as you can see, we are, we're taking 6 days longer, but everybody's comfortable. We're in t-shirts and shorts. Everybody else on that boat was in foul weather gear coming into Hawaii. So yeah, so that's why I want to say, the boats might be old, but they are definitely not old, tired. So anyway. So, any questions I can answer? Because I don't have a whole lot, I was trying to keep it short. So, anything I can say or answer? Any questions? Yeah.
I have a 74, and you pointed out that I have a lead, not a lead, a cast iron keel. And apparently, you told me that there were a couple of years where Islander was building the boats with cast iron keels as opposed to lead.
73 and 74.
Yeah. So I'm just, if you could share with us what's the difference other than the depth of the build, which I know mine is deeper, mine's not as deep as yours.
The reason, they went to the cast iron because it was cheaper than lead. And to do that, to keep the same weight, because lead is a denser material, the keels are they're about 18 inches taller, right? So where our keel ends, our lead ends here, yours ends here. And that's to get the same weight. But by making the keel that much taller, the boats they're a little more tender because all of the weight's not down here, right? The farther the weight is down, the more stable the boat becomes. So that's the difference. And when they made that change, they destroyed the keel mold because the mold was meant for lead. And then they started putting in steel or iron, and they had to make it taller to get the same weight. And they didn't change the mold; they just kept the same mold. So that's why when you look at all these different Islanders, these bulges and dips and stuff, they're all over the place. As every time they heat it and cool it, it would change. So the newer your boat, the uglier your keel. It's just a fact of life. The very early boats, like mine, the keel was very symmetrical. You guys, if you look at your keels, the bulges, and Lou's too, because his is also in a 71. But you look at yours and it looks like there's a basketball stuck in there, and it moves around. And mine, that wasn't even there. I had a nice, and then I had a hard chine on the bottom of my keel. I haven't seen that on any other Islander keel anywhere. Lou?
I just want to say that I was the fleet ranger early on. And I somehow found out about the iron we put in there. And I was in frequent contact with Alan Gurney to design. He was in New York, but he was very interested in the boat doing well on the bay. When we were thinking about buying this boat, I said, well, it can handle the bay. He said, Islander 36, I designed for the bay. And I told him they put iron in there. He says, I'm calling the factory and tell them to take my name off or switch back to the bay.
And they switched back.
Yeah.
And they switch back.
Yeah,
Wow.
because we had a 79.
Other than that, one thing that the cast iron keels don't do is they don't get the frown.
Yeah.
You get a little one, because the cast iron keel actually ends up here to get the weight also. There's an extra bolt under the mast, so you can't get it off easily either. But there's a little, right here, it comes up here and then comes across from there. All to get the extra weight for stability.
Hey, what are you seeing in terms of keel bolt replacements as these boats get older?
You know, I've looked at a couple of them. Most of them, you just need to run a tap down over the bolt that's there. Just clean the threads. It's mostly surface rust, and then put on a new nut. When you're done with that, paint it so that it can't, keep it, clear of that. But I have seen 2 islanders in 2 different yards where they tried to pull the keel off to replace the bolts. All the nuts are gone. Some of them, the nuts were already gone. They lift it with the hoist, the keel comes with it. They shake it, they bang it, they hit it with sledgehammers. I've never seen the keel fall off. They usually have to bring out a sawzall and cut it. So, I'm not sure that the keel bolts are that big a deal.
Except the insurance companies are making a big deal about it.
Well, the insurance companies, and so for them, you can just get a big, long extension, because you gotta get down in there, and just recut the bolt to whatever and get a nut that fits what you recut it to. The tap will cut right through that rust, take it off, and then just put your new bolt or new nut on top of it. And that's going to be as good as, I've seen people, I've actually got it on my computer, it's not here, but where they've done it the other way, where you drill a 1-inch hole down from the top, and you get to the keel, and then you drill through the keel with like a 2.5-inch hole. And you tap that, and then you take that 1-inch bolt and you bolt it onto that and clamp it, and you do a couple of those. That is stronger than anything that came from the factory. The problem with that with our boat is some of the early boats had a steel T inside the keel down in this area here that came across that holds the original bolts, holding them upwards so that the nuts can be put on from the top. So now you've got to drill through that, which is much harder. And the one that I took a picture of is an islander that when we drilled through the side of the keel, the inside of the keel wasn't lead, it was fire bricks.
What?
Bright yellow fire brick. That why it was in there, it must have been put in there to cut costs on that one, or make up. But
What year was that, do you know?
it was like a 75.
75.
But I got a picture of it, and you can see it's just bright yellow, and it's fire brick inside the leg keel. So there's a lot of differences in our boats.
We're learning.
Maybe fell in when they were pouring.
Yeah, that's an all 3
I think it was
holes.
Monday morning.
Yeah, right.
And it fell through in all 3 holes that were drilled through.
Sounds like a case of the Mondays.
Any other questions?
Office space, anyone?
And then something else I'd like to go back to is on the shrouds. I hear one of the boats here, your aft lower or your forward lowers are pulling out. And that's dry rot. The wood that they used was very low quality. It is not marine plywood in our boats. It's just plywood. The aft lowers, like I showed on the other one, those are the ones that usually are pulling forward. It's usually not the forward lowers that are coming apart. But the aft lowers, all of you set your aft lowers way too tight. And when you go downwind, that mast is moving forward and putting all the load on your aft lowers, and that's why they're pulling out. The reason for the aft lowers is to keep the mast from pumping, not from moving forward. You want the mast to move forward, but you don't want it to start going. And that's the aft lower's job, is to comes forward, pulls it snug, and it stops that from happening. but it is not there to keep the mast in a solid vertical column.
So what's your thoughts on backstay tension? Should you adjust it all the time or set it and forget it?
Adjust it all the time. If you're gonna race, if you're not gonna race, you set it in a place where you've got, in a normal breeze on the bay, your head stay isn't bowed way off, right? But it's fairly snug, and you can see how much it bends out, because that really ruins the shape of your jib and overpowers the front of the boat in a way that doesn't work for you. If you've got a hydraulic backstay or an adjustable backstay, run a line from your bow pulpit to your stern push pit. And sometimes you might have to put that up a little higher because of the cabin. Put a line across there tight. Mark it on the mast and put on your backstay. When that line goes slack, that is your maximum backstay, period. Because now you're bending your boat in half. And that will break it. You know, as the America's Cup guys say, you never have enough backstay until the mast touches the stern. Well,
Yeah.
we're not going there.
So I've got a question, because I know some of our boats have the split backstay.
Yep.
And then some have the single. So does that make a difference in what you were just saying?
It's still the same exact thing happening, it's just that it's dispersed to two sides of the boat, but it's the center of the boat that's bowing out.
Got it.
You're trying to make your boat into a banana,
Unless we're
Yeah.
racing.
Okay.
and that's not good for the boat. On my boat, that happens at 3,200 PSI. And my hydraulic backstay will take it up to like 8,000. So most of it doesn't get used. Look,
Modern boats don't have that same problem because they have longitudinal stringers. Sometimes they're called bunks, but the bunks themselves are longitudinal stringers because they want to keep them light. Everything has to do multiple jobs. We do not have those, so that's why the boat bends.
well, and when I rebuilt my boat, so this is looking towards the back of my boat. But when I put these, this is the top of the settee, right? This is where the water tank sits in, is right here. When I put this plywood back down, originally it was free floating on top of the sole, right? It just wasn't attached to anything, it was just sitting there. I made these into stringers. So they come down and they come back, they go over every single one of the floors, but they're all glassed to the boat to make a stringer. And then I did up in the V-berth, again, you get oil panning on the boats because it's such a large, flat piece. And I put in half pipes in there to stiffen the whole bow. And then, since everything was independent cabinetry, every piece of wood is glassed into the boat to help stiffen the boat. And it does, I mean, yeah, it makes a huge difference. I mean, everything, you know, the little trim that comes up on each side, right in front of the nav station, there's that little knee is what it is that's in there. And my deck, you can hear people walking the deck giving, so that's glassed. And that the inside of the boat is so much quieter because nothing now is flexing and bending and tweaking. All of the stuff that can be done, you know. Just modify the boat. Some people modify them and you go like, whoever thought of that? We've got a boat that's got hundreds of feet of extra wire on it, because I think the guy bought it by the spool and just attached the front and the back and didn't bother cutting it down, so. Can I ask anything else, or you would like to hear Lou talk about the class, because he is the expert on the class. I think he was in the original founding of it.
Well, if you're gonna do that, go up and grab the mic, because we're recording this.
Go to the microphone.
Please do.
You want me to go to the microphone?
Go to the microphone. Go.
We have an air
I'm in a dance class.
Oh, so now we have Admiral Zevanov coming up?
Yes, yes.
Well, that's okay.
Okay, I am not prepared to do anything, but that means I can talk for quite a while. What would you like to hear about? The formation?
It starts like this, Lou. In the beginning, there was.
In the beginning. Well, Don Wilson is not here. Don here? No. He was a dealer. He had just gotten the dealership from another fellow that refused to stock the Islander 36. So he got the dealership. I heard about it. We had gone to Southern California. We were looking for a boat, and we looked at the Erickson 35, and that sailed so well in 6 knots of wind. And so I got a sail one on the bay. I sailed one on the bay, and it heeled over and says, "Who, me?" And I talked to Gurney, and he says, "Yeah, you'd have to chop that mast several feet." I said, "What about the Islander 36? He says, "I designed it for the bay," as I just said. So I said, "I think that's going to be the boat for us." So I talked to Don Wilson, and I said, "I have some experience in qualifying a boat for one design. I was in another class way back when." So I said, "Why don't you give me one of these boats?" So I can't give you the boat, but he almost did. I turned in a 29-foot something or other, and he gave me an enormous amount of credit, and he said, "You know, I'm just starting out here." I said, "Well, so am I, and we're semi-poor." So he gave me the boat, and I went out to get people to sign up, people that were buying the boat. They were very much enamored with the boat, but to get the boat qualified, they'd have to take it to a fleet measurer. There were 2 measurers, one in Sausalito, one in Seattle, and one in Southern California. So they went to the same guy. Myron Spalding. Anybody ever heard of Myron Spalding? You heard of Myron Spalding? Well, I got Myron Spalding. I brought the boat over to him. I jumped off and I tied up, and I heard him say, no, that's not how you tie up on a cleat." I thought, "Oh, this is going to be fun here." So he measured the boat, my boat, and I would say, let's translate it to today's dollars. I would say it would be maybe $10,000. So can you imagine going around to everybody and say, "Okay, you just bought the boat. You probably spent a lot of money. You're going to have to spend like $10,000 to get it qualified." They said, "Why? All we want to do is make love on the boat. I don't understand why you want to do that." And I said, "Well, while you're making love, the boat will increase in value if we can make it a one design boat." And so I had to get 7 people, and it took me about a year or so to do that, to get that many people. And were you involved in it back then, Rick, or not? You were not, okay. But you were one of the early people, yeah. So anyway, we got 7 people, and they had to race for, I think, 2 seasons, something like that, maybe 3 seasons. It was a big effort, but we did it, and Don started selling boats like hotcakes. Another dealer showed up in Sausalito. He was a thief. He had a boat sitting out on the hard, and he sold it 3 times to 3 different people at the same time. He had a great profit that way. And so he finally got caught. So he and Don Wilson were the 2 guys, but Don sold a lot of boats, and we ended up with some 150 Islander 36s in the greater Bay Area. That's Santa Cruz, Vallejo, so on. That's a lot of boats of that size. I mean, if they were El Toros, that's another thing. So anyway, that's that part of it. I hung on with Alan Gurney for some years because I think I was fleet measure for a while. I followed through on that. And I wanted to be sure that the boat was wholesome. I did some things to my boat before it was delivered. The booms were weak. I thought they were weak because they were using the same boom on the 30 and the 36. And because it was center loaded, I could see them bending. So I had a web, a vertical web, put on the bottom of the boom before the boom and the mast was anodized. And that's still there. She's 50-something years old, but still there. And the boom does not bend. Other people had retrofitted and put those kinds of things on. Let's see. Questions? One here.
I don't have a question, I have
An answer?
a comment. I think the 1978 model was the boat of the year at the Yacht Palace because we are the original owner of our boat, bought it at the boat show and spent his honeymoon on the boat. And we got to meet him. He comes on board, he tears up, you know, and so it was fun to meet him. And he's Italian, and then the second owner is Italian, so that's why we kept the name Zingara.
That's great. Let me tell you that where I live, I was telling someone early today that I bought into what's called a CCRC, Continuous Care Residential Community, because my wife has become increasingly infirm. I still have my house. I spend time between the two places. But they asked me to give a talk on sailing out there, and there's 810 people at this place. So I gave a talk on the romance of sailing. Last night, I thought, I think I'll review that. It's on YouTube. So if you want to see it, see it. It's but Romance of Sailing, SRC, which is the name of the place, because someone took it and put it on there. I didn't do it. They put it on there, and it's there's a history of my wife allowing me to sail into bigger and bigger boats. Meanwhile, we needed things in our house, like the shower went out for 4 years. She says, I need a shower. And I said, but I want a bigger boat.
4 years?
And so she says, okay, honey. And that's why I take good care of her. We just celebrated our 70th wedding anniversary. So, anyway, if you want to see the romance of sailing, the Islander 36 is in there. And I watched it last night. It's a talk about 40 minutes, something like that. And at the end, there's some very nice sailing music. So,
You mentioned earlier that there were 150 islanders on the bay.
yeah.
And
There were.
so it must have been like the largest concentration of islanders in one place.
Well, absolutely. This was, what did we call it? The Islander 36 Fleet San Francisco Bay somehow.
Fleet One. Fleet One. Islander 36 Association, Fleet One, San Francisco Bay.
Right. But there are other fleets elsewhere now, and of course there's boats all over the place. Does anyone remember the Islander 36 that sailed around the world and set the record?
Yep.
The young man was 17 years old. He wanted to be the youngest one to sail around the world. Father had heard of me. He called me and said, would you help us get the boat ready to do this? And they were elsewhere. And they just wanted information. So I gave them the list of things that Alan Gurney said would be good, and they implemented some of them. But the young man sailed around the world, took him about a year. He made lots of stops, so on and so on, and he got back. The family had hoped that they would all be rich. He would be famous, give lectures at clubs and so on and so on. But when he got back about 3 months later, a 16-year-old girl in Australia, Wilson, what was her name, Wilson? Sailed around the world without stopping. You women, I'm telling you.
Yes.
Give it to a woman.
I'm a captain. It says so here someplace. Any other questions?
Thank you, Lou.
By the way, someone asked me how old I am. I said, I'm 91. I still play tennis 4 days a week. Wow. And they said, oh, what else do you do? You're going to help me with this one?
You do it, I'll fill in the
You're going to fill
punchline.
in?
Yeah.
And so I'm asked about 2 or 3 times a week, what is it that you do to give you the vigor and you know, the well-being? Because I feel better than when I was 25. And I tell them I've been eating salmon for 40 years. I exercise every day, plus the tennis. And
Lots of sex.
and that's no joke. That's not a joke. As a matter of fact, if you will check the astronauts that were up there, remember, got stuck and they couldn't get back because Boeing's thing didn't work.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be up there for 8 days, and it turns out they're going to be up there for months. Well, there was a man and a woman, and both of them were being monitored by their doctors and so on. They have a team of doctors, and they said the man has got to have sex for his well-being in space. And you don't have to go to space to have sex.
It's recorded for posterity.
So the kid was Zach Sutherland.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And I met that boat with the new owner down in Mexico. And he was on his way to, that guy was heading down to try it again. But he wasn't didn't have Zach's fervor. He was just heading south and was going to go play for a while. But I was on that boat and still sailing around.
Nice.
Good.
His sister tried. She was younger. She was going to sail around the world. And everywhere she was on a faster, more modern boat and almost got killed in the Indian Ocean and had to come save her. So the people that keep these records said we're not keeping records anymore because people are sending their kids, younger and younger kids. Pretty soon there'll be an embryo out there. And it's just not right. Don't send your kid out.
Thank you, Lou. That was great. Okay. Next up, our finance chairperson, Mike Patterson, will give us an update on how we're doing. Are we out of money yet?
Not yet.
Boy.
This will be pretty short, because all I'm just going to say is we've got about $10,400 in the bank.
Right. Even after all the work on the trophies.
Yeah, we spent quite a bit of money this year updating our trophies, but that's what 50 years will do. And then we have about 112 members still. So a lot of those boats that you said used to be here in San Francisco Bay and spread out around the world, but they're still active in the association. And so that's about it for me, just membership and money.
Good.
And we'll be sending out our pick-it cards kind of at the end of March, I believe, in April. So we kind of wait till our annual membership is complete. And I also sell the burgees. If you guys want the burgees, the small ones are $36, coincidentally. And the large ones are 72. So feel free to contact me if you're interested in that.
By the way, on Burgess, do you remember the Lahaina Yacht Club that burned down?
Yes.
Lahaina burned down. Well, our Burgess burned down. Oh, yeah, but I really felt sorry for those people there, but I have their Burgess hanging in my house. And I think about it all the time.
Well, I understand that Roy and Melinda have a place in Maui, so maybe we'll send you over with a burgee. You can hang it on the banyan tree.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Do you have any questions, everybody? Thank you.
Do you know what our high measurement membership was?
Well, probably before my time, I think we were up to about.
We got to approve officers for next year. Yeah, you've got to do that. I'll do it right now.
You know, we still do get new members every year, but I think it's slowly going down, but we're still staying above 100. And I think as far as I've been treasurer, it's been like 4 or 5 years now, and we've always had over $10,000 in the bank. So we're pretty steady. And we did raise our fees for the first time this year. So we're hanging in there.
Mike, what is the percentage you can tell us that people don't live in the bay or belong to the club?
I'm gonna say maybe 60-40 or 70-30. That'd be a good subject for the next newsletter, maybe.
What?
I can run an analysis of the database and we can put it in the newsletter. But we do have people all over the world.
Yeah, we have
Panama.
South Wales, yeah, Australia. Where else? England, yeah, both England.
Yeah, Tasmania, I think.
Croatia.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I would be remiss, just thought that one of the housekeeping items that we need to do is to re-elect our board of chairpersons, I guess you call them, our officers. So Rick Egan for Commodore and Rick Van Mel, Mike Patterson, Barney Brickner, Kip Wegman are all running again. And I'll make my plea. We could use some additional officers in the club. In particular, it would really be great if we could get a cruise chair. That's an opportunity to just help organize some cruises for next year. And it's a lot of fun. It's actually not a lot of work getting it all done. We just hold a few Zoom meetings with the board several times a year. So if you'd like to get involved with the association and keep the party going, we would love to have you. Just let me know. So, and then there's also an opening for Vice Commodore. If you like the meetings, the Vice Commodore basically organizes the spring meeting and the fall meeting. So there's a little flurry of activity to get things organized. And other than that, it's really not that much work. So love to have some volunteers. If you don't feel like stepping up right now, come see me after the meeting and we'll talk about it. But our existing officers are all standing for re-election. All in favor say
Aye.
Any opposed?
You get elected if you say no.
Okay, thanks so much. A couple of weeks ago, I'm going to be real quick on this because it's very preliminary and the board hasn't had a chance to actually look at the results of this, but about 3 weeks ago, I sent out a survey to the association members, basically saying, you know, what can we do to improve the association? How can we get more involvement? Do people want to race? Do they want to cruise? What do they want to do? And we put together a list of questions, and we actually got a pretty reasonable response as these things go back. So what I want to do is just take you through those results, just to kind of get a feel for what people are thinking of the association. And then follow with that up, we'll do our awards, which is what everybody's really waiting for. Let's see.
Do you think should just be able to hit your right arrow. That should work.
So we sent out the survey and we got 22 responses. And the responses were pretty equally spread out between what I'll call Northern California members and remote or members afar. In Northern California, we asked some questions about the meetings. Do you attend the meetings? And it turned out 25% of the people attend meetings. We got a lot of support for sailing to the meetings, and there were some free-form areas in the survey where people could put in specific comments, and I got a lot of comments about, we're a sailing organization, we should have meetings where you could sail to them. So for folks that are active and still sailing, we're going to take that into an account as we organize the meetings for next year. Favorite locations, Richmond and Encinal earned the most scores for places to have our meetings, and then Golden Gate Yacht Club and San Francisco Yacht Club were kind of split between those two. In terms of cruising, we asked the Northern California members, where are your favorite venues? Number one was Angel Island, Round Alameda, which is a New Year's Day event, which we've done a bunch of times and is a lot of fun if you don't run into the mud. It came in second. South Beach plus a Giants game came in third, and then the Sailstus cruised out with a raft up at Pocahontas Cove, and then Petaluma on Memorial Day. So as we organize the cruises for next year, we'll take into account those responses. We had a question that we plugged in about kid-friendly cruises. Are we missing some members potentially who might join us for some cruises and races that have, relatively younger kids? And we got 66% in favor of that. 66% also were in favor of joining a Zoom meeting, which we'll do maybe a little later this year, plan the cruises, and 55% favored investigating merging with some other clubs, because what I'm hearing from other yacht clubs in the Bay Area is that they're having problems with turnout, and maybe hooking on to another larger club's cruise out schedule might be a way for us to gain a little more critical mass. On that question, 44% said maybe. They didn't say much else but maybe. But anyway, we'll be investigating that as your board. And then in the racing responses, we got a pretty small sample size, but and if you look at the results of racing in the last couple of years, there's been some racers that typically show up every year. But we got 10 responses on racing. 4 came back and said they had 0 interest in racing. Lack of crew was most cited as the reason not to race. And so a thought that I have on that is, maybe we should get, in addition to pushing on racers and maybe putting crew lists together, maybe we try to find some folks that are generally cruisers, but get them to also maybe show up for some of the races. They learn more about how to get their Islander to sail a little faster even when they're cruising. Spinnaker and non-spinnaker were equally split. And then in terms of favorite venues, no surprise, the Great Vallejo race, far and away was the most favorite. Jazz Cup, so I guess downwind sailing. Encinal out to Point Bonita. We also had a question there. In most of those destination races that are run by the YRA, there's actually a cruise option, so you can kind of start late and show up for the party anyway. And I think we got some pretty good feedback that people might not be that active and wanting to get real aggressive in racing, but that they might join a race just to end up at the party afterwards and then maybe cruise home the next day. And again, the majority also said if we hold a Zoom meeting this year to plan the races, they'd love to get on Zoom. And then in members of FAR, 81% of the respondents that don't live in Northern California primarily cruise. And one of the things they said was they'd like to meet other islanders in their area, which is something that, since we have the list, we could actually facilitate. 93% would love it if we held an annual or biannual Zoom with a specific topic of interest. Let's say something like maintenance. So it's all we have there is, maybe we could have some fun. We could have, ask the shipwright in Kit Wagman and maybe ask the boatyard owner, Terry Scott, a question about, what can I do with my Islander? How do I maintain it? What should I look out for? Those kinds of things. And I think we get a pretty good response from members that don't happen to live in Northern California, in addition to folks that live here as well. So anyway, this would be a good opportunity to build community using the new technology of video conferencing. And then finally, we asked folks, what do you value most about the membership of the association? And website, 4.6 out of 5 stars. There was some suggestion to maybe archive some of the website stuff on Facebook for longevity, so we have to take a look at that. The ability to pose a question to the fleet, basically put out to 120 members, hey, what do I do with this problem? I monitor those, and you always get a good reaction back from that, from a number of knowledgeable members. And then finally, the pick your membership, 3.6 stars. That's probably maybe a bigger deal here in Northern California.
You jumped over the newsletter.
Oh yeah, and then the newsletter, 4.6 stars.
Yeah.
We've got the best newsletter.
Yeah.
How did that work with the PICYA when we submitted it for PICYA? Did we get anywhere with that?
Well, I submitted it, a couple of years ago, we
We didn't win.
Yep.
We have some-
For 2023, we shared a trophy for best newsletter with another club.
Yeah, we got it.
At any rate, in the free form section of the survey, what I can say from looking at the detail, which I'll share with the board, was that most people are very favorable about the Islander 36 Association. They like going to it. We should raise the price again. It's a money-making operation. But thank you for all who participated, and thank you, Marty, for being my first speaker. I never used this Google Forms thing before, so it took me a little while to get this thing out.
That thing was really great. You did a really great job.
Mike?
And have you had any progress talking with any other clubs?
No, we haven't. I thought we'd do a board meeting just to discuss the raw data on the survey, and then maybe assign some folks to do an outreach. We did have an input last year from Vallejo Yacht Club that they said, hey, we're going to do a bunch of cruises and we don't get enough turnout. Could we publicize our cruises on your website? And we kind of didn't get that together, but that's kind of the idea. Is maybe one of these other yacht clubs, maybe that doesn't also have a building, because they're the ones with buildings tend to be a little more expensive. But maybe I don't know, San Jose Sailing Club, they do a lot of cruises, and anyway, we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
So that's where we are. Time for awards. So, Rick, you want to help me on awards? I think the first one I have up here is the Orman Cup. And the Orman Cup is for the season champion of Spinnaker Division. And it comes with a subscription to a chiropractor. Very good. And this year's winner of the Orman Cup is Lunacy. And Dan Knox of Lunacy could not be here, but accepting on his behalf.
Both of you come up and we'll take it.
We need to get a picture.
Leland and Ruby.
Hold on for a second, just give it a second.
We need that photo because Latitude 38 wants it.
Just a bit longer.
Enjoy the champagne there.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Now you guys get a kiss the sign?
Kiss the sign.
Be careful. Congratulations. And then season champions for non-spinner, accepting on behalf of the Commodore, is Bryce and Rian Egan.
Hold it. Take your time. Smile. Look at me.
June 4th, 19.
6/4/1989.
Yeah, give him his birthday.
And is that your social security number?
No.
Hang on. You may notice this wrong again. That's great.
And then the Winton Cup. You've got the percentage.
Since we ate first and raced later, nobody came ashore after the nationals to get their individual trophies. So the winner will get the first place local trophy. Second place went to Windwalker.
Windwalker.
It's obviously vintage, but and you can tell the difference. First place had larger type than second place. And third place, thank you, you're excused. Okay, third place goes to Luna C, so come on.
Luna C.
Nice.
All right, Lunacy.
One more this way.
Drink half of it and then
All
give the
right.
other half to Dan.
Cassiopeia, this place in the nation.
Thank you very much. Good sailing against all of you again.
Drink up or add it to the collection of trophies.
And then the cruising award is the Winton Trophy, and this year's winner is Dan Droop on Windcatcher. Literally showed up for almost everything. Congratulations.
Part of life is just showing up.
Dan even showed up alone for a Def Leppard concert.
No, Green Day.
Yeah, thanks for making the effort, Dan. And then the Crew Cup, okay, is for Justin Hughes, who is crew member on Lunacy, and Justin could not be here today, but accepting on his behalf is Leland.
Dan's in Mexico trying to find a new place to live, he told me, so I don't know.
Leland's gonna have like 4 pictures in the latitude next month.
The crew award, like the others, has basically maxed out. And Kit has volunteered to take the old Nationals plate, walnut over there, refinish it, and then transfer the crew awards to him so we have more years. So he's gonna coordinate with Dan to be able to get that back. Looks like they've done some transition.
We got one more. There's one last special award for when the board decides that a particular individual in the last year has done a lot to support the association. We have the Schneider Trophy, and we unanimously suggested that Dan Knox on lunacy. So lunacy again. I mean, who's accepting on Dan's behalf on this one?
Rob's gonna.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but Dan goes sailing twice a week, rain or shine. He's got a YouTube channel, and all these people at the lunacy table, if you want to get to know them, just log in on your YouTube channel and you can watch them sailing around at all times. And the other thing I'd say about Dan, he's not here, but we'll make him blush from afar. But you know, if someone puts a question out to the fleet, Dan's almost the first guy always to respond and you know, give somebody some of his advice. But anyway, good job on lunacy, Dan Knox. And we have a question. Marty.
I'm related to the board or anything like that, but noticing a lot of these voter ID signs on a marina. I don't know if you're all aware of it, but can somebody share with us how important it is that we all get those IDs by the end of January?
It is called the law.
January 1st. Right. In case you don't have your thing, you might want to get it between now and the end of the year. Right?
It costs $7 to apply for it. You can do it, Boats and Waterways, California Boats and Waterways. And you can take a course to learn. Some of them are free, some of them aren't. And it's only, I think it's $7.95 for the card, and the ticket is considerably more expensive. Is how is it explains it on the webpage.
California Department of Waterways?
So do they accept out-of-state voter cards?
I have no idea.
Because we have the same law up in Oregon.
I mean,
I've heard stories of people sailing in from, they've been sailing around the world, they come into Portland, they get a ticket, and they're like, hey, I just sailed around the world. So you don't have to have a voter card wherever you state you go to.
They look like this. California looks like a credit card, California voter's card. And it's good for a lifetime, you only have to do it once. And there are free courses online, you do have to pay the $7, but the courses, they'll charge you if you want, but you can do a free one and it'll work just fine.
California Boats and Waterways actually puts one on for free.
US dollars.
Yeah, Luke.
I have a question and an answer to the question. But where was the first under 36 national sale?
Have no idea.
Right here.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were sailed in from 3 to 5 knots a minute, which is kind of unusual. The way it blows through over here by the airport, the 3 to 5 knots. It turns out that I had a 3-ounce 150 that I cut down from a different boat I bought for, I don't know, $75 or something. And that was the perfect sail in 3 knots of wind when other people didn't have it. So who won the first match?
You did.
Very good. All right. Any other questions?
Well done, and round for the Commodore.
Volunteer. We need volunteers. All right. Dan, I have that board. It's a little fragile.
Yeah.
I have a box.
Oh.
Peanuts.
That would probably help.
But I transported it.
Yes.
I will give you that. Can I have the keys to your car? We'll take that and put it in the car.
done, guys. Well done. All right, we gotta bring. I think Lunacy needs help.
I think next summer I need to do more sailing.
Yeah, you do. Get to win awards.
By pouring that all on top of it. That thing basically goes down. Yeah, I think we kind of got to figure out a way to get this some of this to come out. Yeah.
Where's the pumping in its bag?
That's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, nice
I'll
meeting you,
see
we'll
ya.
see you on the dock.
Yeah, we'll do.
Good.
Have a great job, Good to see you. And I'm serious about that. Maybe do we'll do a Zoom call. And I took this comes out. That goes at the bottom. Yeah. And then it went kind of like that. That's it. We poured all the bubbles on top.
Yeah, just pour those in there and they'll. So do I. I have been sitting